This training video introduces users to the AssetOptics dispatch console. The target for this training are managers, supervisors, and planner schedulers, not really technicians or operators. The AssetOptics dispatch console is a graphical user interface that allows managers or planner schedulers to quickly assign work down to the time of day for members of various crews. It is designed to give the manager an all-in-one view of the users, their workload, and the statuses of the work assignments that they've been assigned or have already completed. To benefit from this training, users should have already completed or otherwise have been trained on work management in AssetOptics. That could be accomplished via the AssetOptics training series, the Quick Start 2 series, for which there are videos on YouTube, as well as other training materials that may have been provided during your implementation. If you're not familiar already with the difference between work orders, work tasks, and work assignments, I would urge you to first review and become comfortable with those concepts and those terms before you proceed with this video. As you see here, I'm logged into AssetOptics. I've clicked on the Dispatch Console tab, which can also be accessed via the app launcher, and this is how you land on today's date in the one-day view. Let's take a moment to kind of review what's on the screen and cover some of the basic terminology. On the upper half of your screen, we have the work task grid. You'll note that there are work orders hyperlinked at the second column, but when it comes to actually dragging and dropping throughout this training, it'll be the work task that we're pulling down into this bottom half of the screen, which is the resource calendar. Now you can control what you see in the work task grid in a variety of ways. By items per page, 5, 10, 20, by skipping ahead. All of the columns are quickly filtered just by typing in a few letters or a keyword. I'm just doing a few different things here. You'll also note, it's very important to see on the right-hand side, there's this flyout, this filter. This will filter down the work tasks that you see on the top of your screen according to whatever criteria you select. For example, I might only want to see work orders in a ready-to-schedule status, and maybe I only want to see preventive work orders, so I would do that, and that filters them down. I could also switch to a different type of work order, corrective, search there, and now we've reduced this to 3. This could be useful at the beginning of the day if a planner or a manager wants to quickly come in and maybe see only high priority work orders. In fact, maybe you only schedule those using the dispatch console, and perhaps the technicians work their normal PMs from a backlog. Now, in the grid below, in the resource calendar, so far we don't see anything, and the reason why is because we have not yet selected a crew. The dispatch console is of main benefit to larger customer orgs where you have dozens or more users, technicians, perhaps at different sites, working different shifts, maybe even in different time zones. A prerequisite to using the dispatch console is that you have first set up crews. And again, if you're not familiar with the concept of crews, I would urge you to go back into the work management training materials and see those. But essentially, a crew has crew members, and each of those crew member records looks up to an active user. And the crews also have time zones associated with them and work hours. So you might infer from our example here that the day shift and night shift have different working hours. You'll also note a West Coast tech support. Now, if I clicked on that crew, and this is a demo org, there are only 3 members of the crew, you'll note in the right-hand side here, the time zone is reflected in this field here. So I'm looking at this in Pacific Coast, Los Angeles time. So I see that Joe has a work order here. It's a work assignment, actually. Even though we display the work order, it's actually the work assignment that's really being displayed. And it says it's at 8 a.m. But if I hovered over this and clicked through to this work assignment, I would notice that because I am on the East Coast, it shows 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we do that on purpose so that, again, like if I'm assigning work to people in other time zones, I'm seeing this in their time. I know that he starts work at 8 a.m. And that he's in LA, so I can put this on here at 8 a.m. Um, in his own time. I don't have to do any math in my head. So let's kind of look here for a moment at our screen and what it is that we're seeing. Like I said at the beginning, we kind of land by default on the 1 day view, and it happens to be November 12th when I'm recording this. There are also other views here for 3 day and 7 day, and we'll stop here for a moment. The 1 day, 3 day, and 7 day views have something in common that is different than the 1 week and 1 month view, and that's the ability to display the work assignments for all of the users simultaneously. Now, this is most useful when you anticipate having to move things around between users. So I'm looking at, for example, Eddie here is busy until noon. But maybe if Tom said he had to take off early, I could actually take this work assignment and just drag it up here, and I've reassigned it to Eddie. Well, maybe Eddie normally takes lunch at 12, so let me move that to 1 o'clock. So I can move the assignments between users, that is, reassign the work simply by dragging and dropping. I can also change the duration of the work assignment, so maybe it's going to take 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes. I can do that easily here. I can also see Sam here has a little blue line running through him because he has time off. A time off record was created for Sam at some point, and it happens to cover this week. So if, for instance, I created a work assignment for Sam today, oops, in error, I could simply drag that up here to the trash can, and that will cancel that work assignment. So the status of that work assignment is canceled. Sometimes when you refresh, it might take a moment for that little bar to appear. You'll also note that there are different colors associated with these work assignments. You'll get comfortable and familiar with those the more you use it. There are about 4 different statuses, or a combination of statuses on the work assignment, which will be reflected by the colors here, whether it's the current assignment and whether it's started or completed. Mostly you're going to see yellow. These are for new work assignments, as in I just created a work assignment for a user by dragging it onto his timeline. The green one, though, is started. This is one that he's actually working on right now. And now if Eddie went to this work order, to this work assignment, and started this one, it would automatically change the color of this one back to a stop status, depending on whether or not it was completed or not. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's again look at the days and what they look like over here, the timeline selectors. We have 1 day, 3 day, and 7 day. And again, in these instances, you can actually move the assignments between the users. You'll notice the little time blocks change, of course, to reflect the amount of real estate on your screen. So in the 1 day view, the units of time here are broken into 15-minute increments, but when you bump it out here to the 3 day view, you're at, I think it's at half hours, or at least still quarter hours actually, 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, an hour apiece. Now, once you get to the 1 week and 1 month views, these are really designed to home in on the individual user. So I'm looking here at Eddie's schedule for today. I'm not seeing Joe or Sam or Tom. To see the detailed timelines for each of those crew members, I would select them. Now you can definitely still move things around, like let's say that Tom's going to be off tomorrow, so I'm going to move his work back to today. But what you can't do is easily move this from Tom to Sam in the 1 week view. If I knew, that Sam had this work, or excuse me, Tom had this work on Thursday, and I went to my 1 day view, I could click ahead a couple of days, and then I would be back here at the same work orders, the same work assignments, I should say. You'll note that when you use these arrows, the number of days or weeks or units of time really that it advances depends on what you have selected over here. So I'm in the 1 day view. So as I click through this, November 15, 16, 17. If I was in the 3 day view, I'm seeing the 17th through the 19th. I'm going to click back, 14 through 16, 11 through 13, and I think you get the point, you know, weekly, monthly, and so on. Now, if I get lost at any point and I'm anywhere in the resource timeline, in the resource calendar other than today, I can just click the today and it'll take me back to today. I can also kind of move around down here as well. Now, one thing you've probably already noticed is, you know, how much stuff appears on the screen. Let me clear off a few of these filters here. This works best on a desktop computer with a large monitor. There's a lot of information here to be displayed, and it just will not work well on a laptop. If you need to create work assignments traditionally, you know, you can of course still do those, you know, from the work order or the work task. So on this work order, I can still assign this to a user. Let's say it's Joseph. I will get a little calendar representation of Joseph's calendar, but what I won't see is Tom's calendar or Sam's calendar or Willie's calendar or any other user's calendar. This is just so I can deconflict based on what I see here for the day or the month. We're going to cancel out of this. The same thing is on the work task. If you wanted to actually get down to the work task level and create an assignment, you could do the same thing here. I'm going to cancel out of this though. In addition to the flyout filter, there are some options here with respect to the task grid itself. If you click here, for example, I don't use service regions in this org, so I may just take that column off. Craft, well, there are some crafts on some of these work tasks, so I'll leave that. But I can, you know, deselect any column that I don't need. And again, I can search within to get me to the work order I might need to see specifically. So let's go assign a couple of things, move a couple of things around, sort of see how this works. I'm going to select the day shift here again. I'm going to filter these work orders down to just correctives. And I'm not really concerned about any other priorities. So I see this morning that I have about 6 corrective work orders that I can assign. Some are actually in progress, so I may actually want to only look at ready to schedule work orders. Those are the ones that are essentially awaiting some sort of assignment. I have a craft associated with one of these, and I know that Willie is a certified technician, so I'm going to drag this down to Willie's timeline to start at 8 a.m. Now, this is actually this is before 8 a.m. and he's already working on the 9 a.m. assignment. So let me move that to noon. Now, one thing you may or may not have noticed is when I clicked up here, I actually was dragging the work task, not the work order. The work order is hyperlinked, and it'll kick out to a new tab if you want to look at the work order for whatever reason. But it's actually the work task that you want to drag onto the timeline, because that's where the work assignment's being created. The work task, there may be more than one work task on a work order. You know, and similarly, if I click this, not hover, but if I actually click this, there are a couple of options here. I could change the start time and end time manually. Seems kind of silly to do that because we're using the graphical user interface, but maybe I want to assign another crew member to this same work task. So I'm going to select Joseph, and now we will see here work order 653, and the work task is 2340, and we'll see here Joseph here, the same work task and the same work order. Different work assignments, of course, but the same work task and the same work order. So that's an easy way to add an additional work assignment to an existing work order, to an existing work task. So to conclude, the dispatch console is a tool that managers can use to create work assignments, reschedule work assignments, and reassign work assignments through this graphical UI. This is done primarily by dragging and dropping things onto a user's timeline, moving them between users' timelines, and changing the duration of those assignments as necessary. For a user's name to appear in the crew member list, they must be a member of an active crew with a start date and an end time inclusive of the day that you're working in the application. Moreover, there are custom settings which control the types of work order record types that are displayed and available for use in the dispatch console. By default, that will be corrective, preventive, and route record types. If in your org you have created custom record types on the work order object and you want to include those or the ability to use those in the dispatch console, contact your system administrator or us in order to create a new custom setting for you. If you have any questions or need further assistance, please contact us at support@assetoptics.com or log a case at our website, assetoptics.com. Thank you.